Years ago, we were in a warm body syndrome of hiring just warm bodies. I hope a lot of places are out of that now. That's where I think we have to look at all kinds of ways to staff.
Welcome to another episode of the Physician Growth Accelerator, a show where we break down your private medical practice systems into vitals, give you the tools to diagnose root cause of what may be restricting your growth, and prescribe what to do about it. I'm your host, Ed Williamson, and I believe that everything you experience, everything I experience, everyone in the world, we all experience the perfect outcomes of our current systems. And if we want something different to happen, then we need to take a step back, we need to take responsibility and tweak the system. Now, if you've listened to this podcast at all, you will know that I'm very passionate about what the Physician Growth Accelerator is here for, and that is to help you as a private practice build a moat around your business. So you're never in this position where you have to. And to do that, you need a strong foundation. And a foundation comes from the people that you spend every day with, your team that helps you help patients. And that's why we're speaking with our guest today, Christy Bray. She is the Chief Strategy Officer with PracticeLink. PracticeLink connects healthcare providers in all specialties with hiring healthcare organizations and career opportunities nationwide. Christy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you are, first of all, I'm excited to chat with you because there's always stories behind the reason why people do things. And I'm a big fan of behavior and neuroscience. And if you don't mind, can you just start by helping the audience understand how you actually got to PracticeLink? What was the path that you followed?
Sure. I'm going to start way back, actually in high school and then into college. My mom worked for an orthopedic surgeon for a while when I was younger. So I was in the OR watching hip replacements and other things many, many years ago. So really got into sports medicine. Went to the University of Oklahoma and served as a student athletic trainer during my time there. So I really thought I would be a surgeon at some point. I did see like how much hours, how many hours they were working, how much they were away from their family, and sure, the comp and the benefits were great, but there were a lot of other factors involved in that. So found myself entry-level hospital position as a secretary, working actually before that in a cardiology clinic and doing everything, scheduling, medical transcription, treadmill testing, so I could read EKGs and take blood pressures. But it was really exciting as I transitioned into the hospital as a secretary, administrative assistant, executive assistant, and was very fortunate to work for leaders who were uber inclusive with everything we did. So I got to see strategic planning and building of a new tertiary facility and really
Wow.
hands in, hundreds of hours spent with these people. But a lot of great learning there. And through mergers and acquisitions and changes within the companies, ended up in recruitment. I always say none of us go to recruiter school. There isn't such a thing, but a lot of us have background, either sales, marketing, being able to talk to people and engage them, and have those types of skill sets. So I ended up in Nashville about 7 years ago. So I was recruited to really work on kind of transform a national healthcare systems recruitment team, and have stayed here in Tennessee. The founder of PracticeLink called about a year and a half ago with this just amazing opportunity where, for me, healthcare really means, ultimately being able to save lives in those communities. So I felt like this was an opportunity to even serve the whole United States, as PracticeLink has clients, 8,000 plus all over the country, plus into Canada and internationally, where this really made a lot of sense for me. So I'm excited to be here. I've been here almost a year now, which is crazy. But with the opportunity to continue to support our clients, healthcare recruiters, those folks, private practice and hospitals, health systems, and then also those providers, helping them find their career path.
Excellent. It's fun how you ended up at PracticeLink, and the audience, here's the thing. They have a private practice. They are kind of running and gunning every single day. things come across their mind like, should I have another provider? Where am I with my growth? How do I get someone? How do I recruit someone to this area? And there's probably some opinions about the idea of bringing on an additional provider to a current practice. What have you witnessed are some of the misconceptions that people in private practice may believe today that's not actually true? It's kind of like they feel like they have to live one way, but in reality, it can be different.
Yeah, I think over the years I've seen it transition where if you were private practice, you may even take out a bank loan to be able to secure the salary of that new physician you were bringing in. Um, I hope that's not the case anymore for private practice folks. Maybe it is. I know as I watched and lived through negotiations on acquiring practices through the years, a lot of practices are now employed by health systems, and if you're not, you can use them for some recruitment assistance. There's obviously guidelines that you have to follow with that, but they can be a nice partner in helping you get somebody to your area. Additionally, if you are employed by a larger health system or within that model, you typically would have an in-house recruiter, which isn't something your private practice folks have the luxury right now. But we did a lot of recruitment agreements and just helped at least pay some sign-on bonus or some, a little bit extra to help serve the community within those practices that were still vital to the hospital and the area.
What do you see as some of the common mistakes made? Imagine a private practice, they're growing, they feel like they've hit capacity, maybe, and current providers have hit capacity. They want to bring someone on. What kind of mistakes do you see that person make when it comes to recruiting additional providers?
Yeah, worked closely with kind of a strategist to help in my hospital days, really to work with them on really digging into the FTE and the number of patients, and could you add an APP? Could you add a nurse practitioner, a PA first? Like try that. Is there a component that potentially, especially in primary care, you could flip, and maybe some of that is right? Some televisits and telemonitoring where that is a cheaper price point for that FTE. Equally, there are services, right, that you could contract with, but I would, given the current workforce shortage, primarily with physicians and in primary care, it may not always be a body. And years ago, we were in a warm body syndrome of hiring just warm bodies. I hope a lot of places are out of that now. But that's where I think we have to look at all kinds of ways to staff. So, is it APP? Do you have your nurses in the clinic working at the top of their license? Are your APPs working at the top of their license? Are they billing for their services? Are you marketing them as their own, provider in that space to your patients? So I think there's a lot of ways. You ultimately will get to, you need a surgeon, you need an OB. They have to be there, right? So when you do, give yourself longer than you ever thought to find them, because the average, time to fill, it depends on the specialty, but most of them are bumping over 250 days, if
Wow.
not 350, 400. You get into some specialties like ENT, urology, OBGI, hemonc. Um, it gets bad fast. Let's just say, and it really just is, there are not people to go get. And if there's any difficulty in the practice, if the location is not as desirable, maybe the comp model isn't desirable. It's just going to take a long time.
So this is really interesting. And I'd like the audience to think about what this means in regards to what you should be looking at within your practice.
Mhm.
So you can have this gut feeling of, gosh, we need someone else. And here's the problem with how our brain works. The second you say that, then your brain is going to look for proof to justify that you're right. And you're going to head down a path of, we need to bring on an additional provider. As opposed to, if you challenge yourself as to why you think those things, and then how can you support those thoughts with data? So true capacity within the practice, true capacity with APPs. And I like how you were specific to, to the top of their license. What what is not being utilized now that could be, and it might change your perspective on truly what is necessary. Then also from a value standpoint. So if you were to add an APP, what kind of revenue opportunity does that bring to the organization?
Exactly.
If you were to add a provider, what kind of revenue opportunity does that bring? And is it worth the 300 days? Or are there other things? That's why I really I geek out at this stuff, because this is the system I'm talking about. Right now, you're experiencing the outcome of your current system, and our brain is designed to make us feel good about what we think. So if you say, I need a new doctor here, you tend to ignore the other opportunities. So I
Mhm.
love that you brought that up. So when it comes to APP, like let's say there's a physician out there, they have private practice, and this just got them to think a little bit differently. Is that something that PracticeLink would help them through, deciding actually you don't need a surgeon or an MD, you can go with an APP?
So not at PracticeLink. We do work with a resource partner. 3D Health is the company that we work with. We recently recorded a webinar for MGMA, the state associations. Ron Flower is the president. So they have been a resource for me, and that's really what they do. They come in and they have the analytics, and they can help you determine. They look at all of that, and then they do a lot of outbound competitor calls, and so they're really kind of getting to the nuts and bolts of, are people having a hard time scheduling with you? Are you fully booked? Are you maximizing every opportunity there? I think additionally within that is residents and fellows now, they are not wanting to work 60, 70 hours and take all the call shifts and things like that. They are comfortable saying, I'll be a 0.6 FTE with that equal salary. They're okay with that. And so practices also have to think it won't be a 1.0, it won't be a 1.5. And some part-time help is still help. And they're still ingrained in the practice and able to support your patients. So the physician piece, that part-time is becoming more and more of a request, or at least like a 0.8, a 0.8 or some flexible where they're tele some days and in office some days. I would just want your listeners to know that too.
We are seeing the same thing. It's interesting generationally, there are these generations, and there are some relatively predictable behavior about generations, and that absolutely is one that we're witnessing as well. I love that you brought up competitor calls, and actually double checking it's hard to see you, because I'll tell a real practice story real quick. Someone was saying, yeah, I'm 8 weeks out, and we're really redlined. And it turns out that internally, patients were being moved around, gaps were being created because it was uncomfortable for the office to have more volume sooner.
Right.
It wasn't a capacity issue, it was a behavior issue. And because there was no measurement, it was totally unknown. And so imagine the potential of a practice saying, we need a new doctor. Let's go spend 300 days to hire somebody. And in reality, oh no, we just got to change our process and teach our team that it's important for me to see patients sooner. I mean,
Right.
that's the gap.
Yeah, the secret shopper calls are gold. And there are a lot of companies that will do that for you. You could do it yourself. It is very telling when you call into a practice and pretend you're kind of a regular middle-aged adult, healthy-ish commercial payer. Don't make it hard. Don't make it, don't say I'm Medicare. Don't say I'm trying, don't make it hard. And just see what your office says. And if you do have APPs and they can get you in same day, next day, see if they refer to them, because they probably don't.
Or if they do, they do it in a way
That
that
is
tells the patient not to book.
right, right. So the secret shopper calls, we did that in an organization I was with, and it was just amazing to see the direct recording, the actual things that were said. that it's just an education moment for those folks. And if you're in some type of call tree mechanism, press one, press two, like just all those pieces really, really matter. Unanswered voicemails,
Hmm.
unanswered emails to some, ghost mailbox, those types of things. Yeah, do that first before you invest easily, half a million, a million into going to find another physician.
You are so right. We did a study years ago, 7,000 call study, and we found that on average, practices missed 42% of inbound calls. And
Yeah.
that's no voicemail, nothing. It's like they never existed.
Yeah.
Some practices don't realize that they have a voice over IP phone system that doesn't have enough lines, and that a patient tries to call and just gets dead air, and you don't even know you missed the call.
Right.
Um, and then the APP thing, because we review calls, and I'll try not to overstate the tonality, but typically what you hear is someone says, "Well, the physician's available in 4 weeks. If you want to see the PA, I could get you in sooner." And they are literally telling the person, "This is a really bad idea." Um, and so it's a surprise that you have APPs with wide open schedules because
Right.
the team isn't comfortable suggesting it to the patient.
My personal experience has been better with APPs than with physicians. You're going to get to spend more time with the APP. That's the bottom line. And yeah, educating the people answering the phone or replying or, to emails or whatever is really important.
Yeah, it really is. So if a private practice is thinking about a recruitment need, they've gone through the data, they really they understand where they are and where they want to be. Do they need a recruiter to be able to work with PracticeLink?
They don't. In the past, our model was set up with, it didn't have to be a recruiter, but we did, we needed a key contact. We still need that. We need somebody, who can vet the candidates that are coming in. We have a mechanism, if you want us to run a background check or do some of those pieces for you, we can do that now. So really it becomes a call with our sales team to figure out what you need, how many, what type of provider, what specialty, special skills, those types of things. The PracticeLink platform is built on job slots, so number of jobs you need, and you can change them out. You fill one, change it out within the year. But from one job to infinity, basically. We have a team, a very good team of marketing folks, graphic designers, and they will help write the job post if that's something you're not comfortable doing. They'll get it where it's really good and performs well on Google and hits all the marks from an SEO standpoint. And then equally, we have two databases. So we have an opt-in candidate database. These are people who said, yes, I'm looking for a job. They register on our site. They are fed jobs, right, through a
Sure.
job email, job messenger. And so they apply, and then that would come back, right, to someone, right, a contact at the practice. It can be an administrator. Maybe you have an HR manager or someone like that. The key to any recruitment, not just physician recruitment, is speed. So making sure whoever it is calling them, texting them, emailing them to say, thank you, Dr. Smith, I got your information, can you chat on Friday or whatever. It just needs to be very quick. The quicker you reach out, the quicker that it goes with
Yeah.
anything that we do. It's just like sales. So yeah, we can help do a lot of different things. We have geo-targeting capability. We go to almost all the national specialty conferences.
Mm.
So ACC and ACOG and ACGME, even for folks in the academic world. So we have that as an option. And then we equally, we host virtual career fairs. So tonight is our APP, our first APP only. So NPs, PAs, CRNAs, CNMs, right, midwives, exclusive career fair for them. So those virtual career fairs, even post COVID, they are holding strong. This is where
Wow.
job seekers are wanting to meet you as potential employers. We have seen the traction at some of those national specialty conferences fall off. Still get a lot of attendees that are there because they need, the CME credits. They just don't always hang out in the exhibit hall, or they're not brazenly, I'm looking for a job. They're not wearing that on their name tags. So
Yep.
the virtual space for us has been very successful. Our career fairs are aligned by specialty. So if you were cardiology, you don't have to get on every single one. It's 2 or 3 a year. But I sat in on a couple of those earlier this year, and they're really fun to just chat with the providers, and see what they're looking for. Our goal is to support them throughout their career journey. So first practice, coming out of residency, fellowship, next practice, all along the way, with what they might be looking for.
You mentioned getting on a call to find out what a practice is looking for. What should they be thinking about? And I know I have an opinion about this, that one of the biggest mistakes is, well, I need another otolaryngologist. Find me one. As opposed to, well, humans are pretty varied in their existence. So what kind of things should a practice be thinking about when they go to tell you what they're actually looking for?
Yeah. Patient volumes become pretty important pretty quickly. I mean, we touched on that earlier with what the current generation is looking for in their ideal employment. That becomes a big one, and you get into surgeons or GI, you get into other people where that is their bread and butter is, they have to have that volume there. Ortho without blocked OR time, it's not going to help. So if you kind of uncover some of those practice details,
Yeah.
when I led recruitment teams, we had easily a 4 to 7 opportunity profile form. And the practices always looked at it like, why do you need all of that? Because candidates ask. It's not just call. And then if they are in some type of subspecialty, they want additional details. How much ECMO are you doing? How much whatever procedure it is that, that clinician is passionate about. They don't want to lose their skill set. They equally could make you a lot of money bringing that to the practice. So, and fill a gap. So I think that is something you're in it every day, and trying to translate that out so that people really, really understand what that means, is a key component.
When a practice is thinking about PracticeLink specifically, what roles should they be thinking about that you help with?
Everything, primarily physician and APP. Even the call I had before this, we found that someone has a sonographer position, a tech position posted on our site. That isn't our sweet spot, but our website traffic proves that it's still okay. If they have space within their contract with us, go ahead and put it up there. We have nurse jobs posted. That's not our sweet spot. But it's every specialty within that physician and APP that I feel super confident. My teams that I've led over the years, just love the tool, and they're in it and finding and digging. A key with private practice is being able to find some time to source the candidates. And that's what we can help with. If you don't have a recruiter or the time to do that, even recruiters don't always have the time to source. So I've been blessed to have sourcing people, and that's all they do every day.
Wow.
So you're having to mine the data, do the outreach, email, text, cold call, send them a postcard. I mean, it's a lot to find them.
Well, Christy, I really appreciate you taking the time and spending it with us today. In the show notes, what we will do is put a direct link for those private practices to get access to the page on your website that makes the most sense for them. And do you mind if people reach out to you via LinkedIn if they have questions or want to chat?
No, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on the Physician Growth Accelerator.